Hi, this is Ravit and Murray again from the Nasty Divorce Podcast.
Hi.
To remind you, we're not lawyers, we're not therapists, we're just two divorced parents on a mission to demystify nasty divorces, understand how and why nasty divorces are becoming an epidemic, discuss problems we see in today's divorces, along with provide solutions. And today we're going to be talking about why do parents divorce? In your opinion, as a male, why do you think men want to divorce? Or do men even ask to divorce?
Oh, but not as much. It's a matter of a good question. I saw a statistic one time: 80 to 85% of all relationships end because the woman wants it that way.
Oh, and why is it that we want it that way?
Well, I've also heard the other. If you could see my face. Apparently, women drop clues,
That's right.
and the guy is clueless. And the reason, and I don't mean that in a pejorative way. What I mean when I say that is we don't pick up clues, us guys. We got to be hit over the head repeatedly about what it is that is bugging you, women. And then once we get it, we go, okay. And then the woman will say, you know, I've been telling you that in a not so subtle way over the past couple of months, and you haven't picked up one clue. The guy will turn around and say, you haven't been subtle. You've been too subtle. We don't pick up clues. We really don't. Guys, do not pick up clues. And women insist on dropping clues as to what's wrong with the relationship, what she wants, what she needs. And guys are just sitting there blissfully unaware until all of a sudden the day comes when she says, it's over.
That's right.
And then the guy turns around and goes, what's wrong? It's so true.
You never said anything to me.
Yeah, can't you talk? I thought we were talking, and oh God. So what is it with women dropping? Why do women? You should see her eyes, folks. Why do women insist on dropping clues instead of saying exactly what's on their mind?
Well, I do think there are women who do very clearly say to their husband, if you do this and this, I will divorce you. I think that the men are not comfortable, those men are not comfortable being in touch with their emotions and understanding, holy cow, she just pinned me up against the wall, I better change. Nah, she'll never do anything, she's too much of a coward to do anything, she'll never make that move. I think they don't trust us. They don't believe that we know what we want, and we certainly know what we do not want. Okay.
Why is the woman so forthright in her clue dropping and in her demands when she's a wife, but as the girlfriend, we never hear from you that way? Oh. It's all roses and wonderfulness.
Yeah, because she wants to end up being Mrs. Murray Sherriffs. So when she becomes maybe Mrs. Murray Sherriffs, the truth will come out. Or maybe life is completely different.
Well, this isn't good.
Well, nothing is good.
Well, why aren't we honest right in the beginning?
I think it depends on the person. I think we're trying to generalize a lot. Personally, I'm very upfront, and anyone who knows me, I don't beat around the bush. Okay. So I'm not that kind of person, but I do know others, male and females, who just don't want to trigger any conversations where there's going to be any confrontations.
But those confrontations can be productive if they're handled in a nice way. They don't have to be face to face. They don't have to be
conflictual.
Yeah.
I think it depends on the person also. I find that there's not enough people out there who are evolving with their spouses. If you're married at the age of, let's say, 28, 29, 30, and at the age of 45, one has completely changed and one is still what they used to be back, 15 years ago, there is an issue there. And I think that the clues are always there throughout the years, and you can tell when your wife is angry. I think that's pretty clear, and every man will say that, oh yeah, she's upset again, or
you know how we know?
How?
It's so quiet. The silent treatment. And I was thinking to myself, when I used to get them from girlfriends and from wives, it's like, okay, what's wrong? Because guys are fix-its. Yeah. We fix things.
Right.
But you have to say what's wrong in order for us to fix it. And if there's nothing wrong, or you say nothing, oh, please, we know that tone. We get it.
Don't
but if we
blame me.
don't know what is wrong, then we can't fix it. But then I think the woman says to herself, well, if you don't know, then you're not paying attention, because it's been pretty obvious for the past day that I haven't been happy. Okay, honey, but what is it? Just to kind of clear the air. Never mind. Oh, God. Really?
You guys love it when we say that. Nothing's wrong. What's wrong? Nothing.
If you don't know, and I have to tell you, then obviously you're not in love with me. Oh, please.
So join in on the conversation on Facebook or LinkedIn at Ravit Rose. That's RAVIT ROSE. Feel free also to suggest any topics you'd like us to discuss. I want to actually talk about something else. Why is it that the divorce rate is at 60%? Is there some contagious epidemic going on out there? Do you think that men are looking at other divorced men and seeing the lifestyle that they have and saying, this kind of looks good. I don't have to come home tonight. I don't have to go home to my crazy wife if he's thinking that. And I kind of like this lifestyle that my buddy has. And he's going out all the time, and he's bed hopping, and he's clubbing, and he's drinking, and he seems to be having a good time. Do you think that men get jealous at any point and think, that life looks so good?
Generally, I would say no.
Okay.
Generally, I would say that if you are thinking that my single friends are out there having a great time, I think your single friends are telling you a bit of a story. Right. Mm-hmm. I also think that there's a lot of guys, and we men have been put in a certain spot when it comes to our children. We really are a lot more dedicated to our children than society would have you believe, than therapists would have you believe. We really do love our kids.
Okay.
We really do want them around. We really don't want a divorce.
I think a lot of women are rolling their eyes right now, saying, what about my deadbeat ex-husband who doesn't want to take the kids? What about the kind of father who wants to only see his kids 4 days a month? What about the kind of dad that makes every excuse in the world just not to see his kids? What's his beef then? If fathers really do want to be involved, why is it post-divorce they're not involved?
Generalizing, I think, is a big struggle. We can't generalize and say that men are this way and women are that way.
Right.
I would suggest to you that guys who are happy to be not seeing their kids are very few and far between. I just don't believe that the guys out there who find themselves now in a position of divorcing, they miss their kids terribly. I believe
they miss them. I really do believe it.
And I think the story, sorry to interrupt,
Sure.
The story of the deadbeat dad, I think, is greatly exaggerated by media and greatly exaggerated by people who have an agenda. And that agenda is men are bad and women are wonderful and pure and holy. And
we're fantastic.
Oh, Lord,
and we're
save me.
perfect.
What? What? You know what I'm saying, though? I just wish we could have less of that hyperbole and a whole lot more of the down-to-earth stuff. Instead of listening to people who have the microphone or people who have or on TV and they're talking about relationships and how they dissolved, and it always comes back to the deadbeat dad and the deadbeat dad.
There are deadbeat moms, by the way.
Yeah?
Oh, yes, I've heard.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Oh, well.
Few and far between, but still.
Yeah, because usually the guy makes more money.
I think it's more of a psychological issue.
How so?
When a mother does not want to be involved in her children's lives,
That's weird.
either she has a psychological issue
Yeah.
that is stopping her from doing so,
Okay.
or there was a case of something going on in the marriage. It's not custom that you would find that a mother is not involved on a regular basis.
I'll admit that when I see a media story and a mom was not awarded custody of the children,
Yeah.
right away it strikes me as, whoa,
Odd,
what
right?
is that? Yeah.
Exactly, because that's sort of our role.
Exactly.
And that's what we're known to do, and we sort of, it's, I don't think we should generalize only because there are many, many fathers out there these days, especially in my generation. Your generation might be different if they were to divorce in, let's say, the 55 plus. I think that the kids are older. There's less daily involvement as opposed to divorcing when your kids are either in diapers or toddlers and there's a hell of a lot of work to be done.
Yep.
I think that it depends on the age of the kids. I think it depends on their temperament. I think it depends on how the kids are doing. If it's rough, then maybe the fathers will not want to be so involved. And I also truly believe, and therapists will back me up on this, and this is actually part of what we do here at the Amicable Divorce Center, is that one of the biggest issues out there is that when two parents decide to divorce, their emotions are sky high for both. Even if the mother decided to say, Murray, I'm out, she's still having issues with the fact that her entire life is now going to crumble. Okay? Now, when the two of them have very high emotions, and they're negative emotions, and there is sadness and anger and desperation and fear and all that involved, what happens is that they're both not facing the reality and they're not dealing with it properly, so they're going to fight right away. When you go into fight right away and you haven't actually dealt with your emotions, chances are that if the father, and I could be wrong and we're not generalizing here, could be that the father has a really hard time adjusting to the fact that A, he's alone, B, he's a single father and he doesn't know how to do very much compared to the mother, and C, he's completely insecure by the fact that now he's responsible for those kids on his own. Do you agree?
That's a lot.
It is.
I got to digest that.
Do you remember the day when, you either, I don't know how you divorced, I don't know if you ended up staying at home for a while, but the day that you ended up leaving your home and you wake up in the morning, from being in your own place and thinking, now what?
Yep.
How do I take care of my kids? What do I do?
I remember that.
What was it like?
It was shit.
Why?
It was because you're used to a certain rhythm, a certain routine, even though I wanted it, and all of a sudden, I might have acted in haste. I think I might have blown it. Gee.
So reality kicks in.
It does kick in, and it's a harsh reality. I have had friends who, with my past, I've had friends who are saying, so-and-so and I are not getting along, his wife and my wife and I aren't getting along anymore. And I'm thinking, oh God, don't do it. Regardless of whatever issue, I wasn't never that close that I would know what the issues were between them as a couple, but because I knew of the pain that was coming their way, I just don't do it. Resolve it. Somehow find a way to resolve it, because you have no idea how it's going to feel when your kids aren't in your life.
Absolutely.
Or if they are in your life, they're in your life only when the courts say you can have your child. A child that used to hug you every night is now hugging you every second weekend, if you like. The dropping off of the children back to your ex, it's horrible. And there's no way, in a perfect world you could say, don't do it, stop it.
Right.
In the real world, you have no idea what's coming your way. This is going to, it's going to really hurt. It's going to hurt.
So all of you out there that are listening, you can join us on Facebook or LinkedIn, or through the podcast if you stream the Podbean. And basically, we want to know: did you as a father feel the same way that Murray just explained? Was it completely new for you? Was it scary at the very beginning? And could it be that the reason why you didn't want to have as much access to your children at that time or at this time or wherever you're at of your divorce be because of the fact that you were just too overwhelmed?
That's a good word. That's good.
Yeah.
I like that.
So message us.
And by the way, dads, if you're in this crisis right now and you make a promise to your boys, you make a promise to your little girl, make sure you fulfill that promise, because they really do remember.
That's a
So
very good
if
one.
you say, I'm going to be picking you up after school today, be there,
And be there on time.
Yeah,
Don't be late.
Yeah, really. So there's so much emotion that you've never, if you haven't divorced, there's so many emotions that you have never touched base with, but you will touch base with them now. Now, in this process, from a legal standpoint, thank goodness I didn't have that on a legal, legally I didn't get involved in the courts that much.
You're lucky.
Yeah, no kidding. I've heard stories. Oh, God. But the other emotions of missing your little ones, of, as I said before, not being there.
And trying to figure out what about like lunch boxes and how to figuring out your meal plans if you have the kids for a week or two, and what on earth am I going to make for dinner tonight? I don't know. What am I going to make for lunch today? Forget
That's
about
easy.
dinner.
Peanut butter sandwiches. There's a story.
We're not going to tell the story now because we have a show coming up, and it's Epic Fails, and Murray has the absolute funniest story. I think I heard it the first time like 2 years ago, and until today, I'm still dying of laughter when I'm thinking of this story. But bottom line is that I think we're trying to say that everyone, men and women, have to deal with their emotions before you make any decisions on custody or any grand decisions on who's leaving the house and who's buying which part over and who's doing what and how, because you cannot make proper decisions when you're in a state of despair or desperation. If you do end up making those mistakes and deciding what's going to be done for the rest of your life when you're in the worst state emotionally, you're going to end up regretting your decisions.
Yep.
And the other thing is that I think men and women have to learn to understand each other more than they even had to understand each other when they were married, because men and women are not going to grieve in the same way. And we have to respect the fact that the father will not grieve the way we're grieving, and he may have his own process to go through, and it may take men 3 to 5 years to grieve the loss of their marriage, whereas for the mother it may take a year or 2 years. So you can't pressure anyone else, because if you do pressure them, you're actually going against what you're trying to do by divorcing and leading your own separate lives.
And if a woman sees her ex or her soon-to-be ex behaving in a certain way, as in his grieving may see him dating a lot.
Yes.
And that
rips some women apart.
Oh man, you moved on rather quickly. No,
That's
as a matter of fact, we haven't. We haven't moved on at all. But this is a nice diversion. We can do this and not think about the real world, and so it's okay.
Exactly. And that's a whole podcast on its own that we're going to be getting into. So the question is, do you think that we need pre-marriage counseling then? What's the problem out there? 60% divorce rate and increasing. What is it that's going wrong? If it's not necessarily that either men and women are jealous of each other, what is causing the epidemic? Do we not know who to marry? Or are we all changing so much? Or what is it?
Well, we do pre-marriage counseling now. I know the Catholic Church offers it.
Okay. Is it mandatory?
No.
Okay.
No. They highly suggest it, which when you're sitting in front of the priest, you kind of go for it. You know what I mean? But then again, there are a lot of couples out there, a lot of soon-to-be married couples in the Catholic faith who say, well, how does this guy know anything about what it's like to be married? You're not even married, talking about the priest here. Not even married. How can you be offering advice? And I think it should go beyond the church. It perhaps maybe a government agency. It is easy.
Now we're going to include the government again in this?
I understand. Any process that sees the man and woman actually sit down and discuss, okay, here's what you're really getting into. Okay. Yes, love is wonderful.
Yes.
That is wonderful. And it's really cool to have another person love you as much as you love them.
Yes.
That's really cool. But are you really aware of what's going to come about in the first couple of months?
That's right.
In the first year.
Or when you have a first child.
Oh, gee.
Oh, yeah.
There's change.
Everything changes.
Yeah. So there should be more. There should be rules. It's easy to get married.
Very easy to get married.
It's very difficult to get a divorce. Maybe it should be the other way around.
We should get divorced first?
No. No. You're silly. It should be harder to get married. You should really be aware of everything that's out there and about to come your way.
Exactly. So you get divorced first. How's that? You break up.
Yeah.
Or the priest will, I don't know, somehow get you guys to fight about something major to see how you guys come out of of that. Wasn't there a movie with Robin Williams where he was the priest? Yes, there was.
Oh, yeah?
He was a priest, and there was a young couple who wanted to get married, and they had to go through his 10 steps and pass the 10 steps before he gave the okay for them to get married.
Oh,
I forgot what the movie's called.
okay.
But yes, there was a movie about that. It was very funny, but it was very true.
Written by a guy who's obviously thought the same way as you and I.
Probably. So thanks for joining into the conversation. Join us on Facebook or LinkedIn at Ravit Rose, RAVITROSE. Feel free to comment on any topics you'd like us to discuss, and have a day that matters. See you next time.